Thank you, thank you. 만나서 반갑습니다. But this is the only Korean I have learned. I have to switch to English. Very good to see you here, and thank you for inviting us, the Fusion team. As you can see here, what we're doing is about finance, but we put a word like the crypto in front of finance. We are doing something related to crypto finance. Matthew is right. He talked about the interoperability, and a lot of projects are trying to solve the problem, the interoperability in the blockchain industry. And we are doing the same thing, but we are doing it in another aspect, trying to solve the problem in finance. But why finance is so important? You know, in terms of developing blockchain projects, you know, a lot of people, mainstream financial institutions, they are trying to solve, trying to build applications on blockchain to solve a lot of problems in finance, try to increase the efficiency and try to cut the costs. But you know, today there are a lot of different cryptocurrencies, digital assets, and the tokens on the blockchain, in the blockchain world. But we still meet a lot of problems. The first case Matthew just mentioned, you cannot build a smart contract among all of those different cryptocurrencies. For example, if I want to have a smart contract with you, the smart contract says you're going to give me 10 Bitcoin, and in return, I'm going to give you a bunch of total different types of tokens. That's not impossible today. That's why we need to solve the problem of interoperability. Another problem is the token today is only the asset. There is another types of assets in finance we cannot use the smart contract to represent, which is the future cash flow. You know, in the accounting rule, that the future cash flow is still a very important asset in finance. But today, there's no way to represent that. For example, if we were going to have an agreement that a smart contract says, today you're going to give me 10 Bitcoin, and then I'm going to send you a 100 Ethereum maybe in next 90 days. That means this smart contract describes you are going to receive 100 Ethereum in the next 90 days, in the future. That is assets as well. But there is no way to represent that kind of assets in today's blockchain, in today's blockchain world. That's why we are trying to solve this problem, to make sure the cryptocurrency and the tokens, the digital assets, can have full financial functions. Not like today, we only have tokens sitting in our wallet. But also, we can have the smart contract, or the smart contract describes a certain token flow in the future. If we can do this, we can imagine a lot of use cases today using the cryptocurrencies and the tokens and the digital assets. Even a token is representing some digital RMB or digital US dollar. Then we can have the financial services running automatically and have the services, the financial services can be programmed. That's how we are thinking about the financial services. Here we put an F here. F represents finance and fusion. You can see a lot of problems, loan and total flow, mortgage, and future income. These are the problems we're going to solve. When we are trying to solve this problem, the first problem we need to solve is the interoperability, the blockchain interoperability. Just as Matthew said, there are a lot of ways to solve it. The first way is we're going to, maybe someone can build a bridge among all different types of blockchains. Once one blockchain has a result, has some information sent out, then another blockchain can receive it and have the consensus on another blockchain. Another way is we invent a standard which can be used by all of the blockchains. That means if I can design one blockchain in this method, and another blockchain in the same method can get the information from another blockchain. So this is the second way. The third way is we can map all the tokens and the digital assets on one platform. Then they can interact with each other very easily with the cross blockchain smart contract function, which can describe the financial services. But besides this, there are also a lot of other different problems we need to solve. For Fusion, in Fusion, we have invented some technologies which can help us to solve this problem. The first one is, in Fusion, we can have the private key controlled and managed distributedly. That means, today's financial services, you need to put your assets in a custodian of a centralized institution. No matter is it money, like bank, you put your money in the bank. For example, another example is stocks. You need to put your stocks in a centralized institution. And the real assets, the same. But in Fusion, we can have the private key controlled and managed distributedly on one chain. That means the node distributed, all of the nodes, they controls the real token. And then on Fusion, it represents, there are some represents a certain token. And after that, you can build the smart contract. The second technology is the multi-trigger smart contract. As we all know, all the financial services, they probably needs to be related to different time. So the financial service really matters when we try to input the trigger by time and by event, different types of trigger mechanism. For example, if we are going to have a agreement, a financial service agreement, that it can be triggered by time, like when we are at January 2019, then the smart contract can be triggered automatically, not by someone sending a token triggered by the transaction itself, but also triggered by time and by event. So in this case, a lot of financial services can be implemented. The third technology we invented is the hierarchy consensus mechanism. The reason we invent this technology is that we hope that the smart contract itself can represent a certain token flow. That means at the same time, there will be a lot of smart contracts running simultaneously. That's why we want to invent a consensus mechanism which can support the parallel computing to make sure all the smart contracts can be divided into different groups, and each group will run one smart contract. That will make sure the capacity and the throughput will be increased significantly. The fourth technology is about a smart contract nested core. We already know maybe most of the blockchain projects which which involved the smart contract in it can support the smart contract be called by another smart contract. But on Fusion, it is specially designed for to adopt the financial function. For example, just as the example I give you 10 minutes ago, if we have an agreement that says you're going to send me 100 Ethereum, no matter what happened. So the code will govern, the token flow will be governed by the code. And then when I'm using this smart contract, I can use it as a banknote. Just we can sell it with the discount. For example, I'm going to receive 100 Ethereum in the next 90 days. I can sell the smart contract to another one. Maybe I received 98 Ethereum today. Then I sell the smart contract to another one. So this function will be enabled on Fusion as well. With these four very important technology, I hope you can have some imagination about what kind of use case we can build on Fusion. We made a couple of different videos The first one is risk-free token loan. The second one is about application of such as the banknote. The third one is about the mortgage. I will play it here and try to give you some explanation.
As part of the innovation Fusion will open up for crypto finance, we'd like to introduce the concept of the risk-free token loan. We've heard about smart contracts, code that ensures automated execution of a transaction, serving as a trust mechanism. Fusion's architecture enables such a mechanism as well as cross-token contracts. You can loan or borrow in any token and not be concerned with trust. A Fusion-based smart contract will govern and execute a risk-free loan. The contract will define the amounts, interest rate, and time of the loan, letting both parties inspect and agree to the terms in advance. As an example, let's say you want to participate in Fusion's own token sale. You know that this token sale special mechanism might leave you owning less FSN tokens than you planned due to its inclusive structure. So you decide to contribute a larger sum of Ether to the token sale in the first place, especially since you know that part of your Ether will be returned according to this token sale smart contract. A risk-free token loan smart contract will solve your problem by borrowing the amount of Ether that you expect to be returned by the token sale. And this can be done using the risk-free loan smart contract. Both the lender and the loan provider will send their Ether into the contract, which will then interact with the token sale smart contract. When the token sale is over and the extra Ether are returned, the lender will automatically get back her loan plus interest. And you will get the amount of FSN corresponding to your larger contribution to the token sale. Many other applications will create a market of risk-free crypto financial instruments, allowing a range of LIBOR-like low-interest transactions. That is a smart deal.
In our token sale in February, actually, we set a hard cap, but we didn't stop when the hard cap is reached. Finally, our hard cap is around 50,000 Ethereum, but by the end of the token sale, we received more than 126,000 Ethereum. We will return the rest above the 50,000. That means in the middle of the token sale, people will see that there are a bunch of tokens will be returned to their address governed by the code. So that's the token flow. That's the token flow described in the smart contract. That's why we see if you are in the middle of the token sale, you will see maybe half of your token sent to the smart contract will be returned by the end of the token sale. Then what you do if you want to invest all of your Ethereum? There is one way: you borrow, and you can give this smart contract to another person, telling them that a bunch of half of the token will be returned. Then you can loan me maybe a bunch of token without any risk because it will be returned to your address. So this is idea, we call it a risk-free loan. The second one is about
In this video, we'll illustrate how the Fusion blockchain
Vast smart
will enable a market of peer-traded financial contracts, opening new possibilities for crypto finance. We'll show how Fusion-based smart contracts can be used similar to bank checks. They are risk-free since the smart contract codes create a guarantee of future payment, even though no bank is involved. Let's consider a scenario of a purchase on credit. Alice wants to use 0.3 Bitcoins to buy an airline ticket from Bob, the travel agent. But Alice's 0.3 Bitcoins are currently invested elsewhere, say in Fusion's risk-free loan smart contract. We will call this contract C1, and would be back in 10 days together with interest of 0.01 Bitcoin. To buy the ticket immediately, Alice initiates a credit purchase smart contract. We'll call this contract C2 with Bob. She authorizes C2 to handle the purchase of the ticket. She signs C2, transferring control of C1's future token flows to it. To be clear, C2 says that if Bob will send Alice the ticket right now, he'll receive the 0.3 Bitcoin plus interest as they appear in C1. meaning in 10 days when Alice gets her Bitcoin back. But what if Bob wants to receive payment now? He can. Bob can initiate a discount sale smart contract, let's call this contract C3, with Carl. C3 controls the token flows from C2, which in turn controls C1's future token flow, meaning that if Carl sends 0.3 Bitcoin to C3, he will get it back in 10 days with interest. C3 is called a discount sale since it sells for less than its future token flows. Carl finds that C3 is risk-free due to the guaranteed future payment from C1, has an attractive interest rate, and a suitable duration of 10 days. Alice, Bob, and Carl now all received what they had wanted. Everybody wins. In this manner, we see the control rights of future token flow can be traded between peers on the Fusion blockchain, creating a new market for crypto financial smart contracts.
In these two previous videos, you can see all the financial services are related to token. But what about we involve some real assets existing in our physical world? Then we produced another, the third video, which tried to explain how we use this method to apply in the mortgage. Use case 3. No. This one, yeah.
We would like to introduce Fusion's mortgage smart contracts. In order to do that, let us define the players. The house owner, Alice, wants to sell her house at 100 Bitcoin. The house token organization, a legal service provider that helps house owners, like Alice, to tokenize their houses, with each house having a different token name on the Fusion blockchain, and provides the bonding services to guarantee that anyone who holds a house token has the full ownership of the house. Alice's house is tokenized by the house token organization as H1 token. The risk taker, the token loan company, who focuses on providing loans on Fusion and undertakes all risks. The house buyer, Bob, who has 30 Bitcoin and wants to buy the H1 house token with a mortgage of 70 Bitcoin. And the risk-free investors, such as Carl, who wants to invest 10 Bitcoin in a risk-free loan smart contract. Now that we know all the parties involved, let us simulate a typical deal. It will revolve around the mortgage smart contract, or MSC, that will be initiated by the token loan company. It will start with Alice sending H1 to the MSC, and also Bob sending his 30 Bitcoin to the MSC. Then Carl and other investors will send a total amount of 70 Bitcoin to MSC, while Token Loan will send 70 Bitcoin to MSC as guarantee for their investment, ensuring the investor...
I have to pause here. You probably have a question that if the token loan company has 70 Bitcoin here, why the token loan company needs the money from different people? The reason is that these assets, like 70 Bitcoin in this smart contract, can be used to invest in another risk-free loan smart contract. So they don't have to sit in there and without doing anything, but they can utilize these assets as long as this has no conflict with another smart contract. So this is the use of 70 Bitcoin. And another thing is when the people like Bob default sometime after the mortgage, then the 70 Bitcoin can be used to pay these people. That makes these people investment will be risk-free.
There's principals and interests. Token Loan will then be the risk taker and residual revenue owner. Once all of the above has been met, MSC will send the 100 Bitcoin to Alice, and Alice will no longer own H1. Bob will get a 70 Bitcoin mortgage loan and become the owner of the house. But H1 will be used as guarantee for the Token Loan's 70 Bitcoins mortgage loan. He will need to send in 0.76 Bitcoin at the end of every month for 120 months as mortgage payments. MSC will include the rights and conditions of reselling H1 if Bob fails to do so. Every month's payment of principal and part of interest from Bob will be transferred to the risk-free investors. Token Loan will receive the residual part of the interest payments as well as the interest from investments made out of the 70 bitcoins it placed in the MSC. Investments that are in risk-free loans under conditions set out in MSC that ensure Carl and other investors remain risk-free. After 120 months, MSC will send H1 to Bob, and all the original 70 bitcoins will be returned to token loan. An abundance of such mortgage smart contracts from around the world will create a risk-free loan market for trading such contracts. And the greater efficiency, automation, and globalization created in the mortgage markets will make mortgages simpler, more easily available, and less costly for all involved.
I think you probably have a feeling that we can imagine a lot of different financial use cases on top of Fusion as long as we achieved our technology. Maybe today or maybe tomorrow morning, we're going to release the first batch of code on GitHub about the virtual machine we're going to use. We made a couple of different changes, and including the calling list, and such as the smart contract can be used to represent the future token flow. Those functions can be realized when we are trying to develop the virtual machine. So I think, today I'm going to give you a very good news that we're going to release the first batch of code. You probably have another feeling that we mentioned a lot that the one word is risk-free. Given the situation that finance is everything about risk, you know, if we are talking about finance, we always can feel there is a risk. But what we want to do, what Fusionists want to do, is we hope that everything online, they probably can be reached by anyone in the world. I hope this thing will be standardized, which we call it the risk-free. And then we leave the risk offline. That's why we need to have a centralized institution to handle all the risk offline, to make sure all the deal online will be risk-free, which is governed and controlled by the smart contract. So this is what we're doing. And I hope just before I came on stage, I learned the second word of 谢谢 in thank you in Korean. It's 감사합니다. I hope that it really, I hope today will be a good day, and thank you so much. Any questions you have, I think we can discuss after that. Thank you so much.